Are you ready to have your mind blown? Today I am going to tell you a tale of such magnitude that it challenges everything you thought you knew about good and evil. In this nothingness, there existed a grand council, a gathering of immense spiritual beings known as angels. For Lucifer harbored a deep sense of pride and arrogance, a pride that threatened to consume him whole. And it all started with a simple thought, a thought that would change everything. He contemplated why he had to serve when he could reign, why he had to worship when he could be worshipped. Among them was Lucifer, a being of unparalleled beauty, whose radiance outshone all the rest. Lucifer saw earth as his new dominion, a place where he could build a kingdom of his own and gather followers who shared his disdain for the Almighty. He needed a disguise that would allow him to infiltrate earth undetected. And so he concocted a plan. He was the anointed cherub who covered the throne of the Almighty. With this disguise in place, he descended upon earth, ready to begin his campaign of deception and darkness. With his wisdom and music, he maintained order and balance in the cosmos. These individuals remained steadfast in their faith, refusing to bow to Lucifer's demands. First, we must remain vigilant. We cannot afford to lower our guard or to become complacent in our faith. We must always be aware of the presence of evil and the temptations that it brings. Second, we must remain strong. We cannot allow ourselves to be swayed by the promises of power, pleasure, or knowledge. Even when Lucifer challenged the Almighty, wagering that Job would abandon his faith in the face of unimaginable suffering, Job stood firm. He endured the loss of his wealth, his children, and his health, all in the name of his devotion to the divine. The fallout from Lucifer's rebellion was profound and far-reaching. The angelic host was divided, with 1/3 succumbing to his temptations and becoming demons, while the remaining 2/3 remained loyal to the divine. The earth was tainted by the presence of evil, and humanity was doomed to suffer the consequences. We must remain steadfast in our commitment to righteousness, no matter how great the temptation. The story of humanity shifted with the arrival of Jesus Christ, who came to earth to save humanity from the clutches of evil. The story of Lucifer offers several profound lessons that can guide us in our own lives. Pride, as exemplified by Lucifer, can lead to nothing more than a catastrophic downfall. Greed, as demonstrated by Lucifer's desire for more power, can corrupt even the purest of beings. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Thank you for watching. Temptation, as experienced by both Lucifer and Jesus, is a constant battle that requires unwavering strength and resolve. Through his sacrifice, humanity was given the opportunity to break free from the cycle of darkness and embrace the light once again. During his time on earth, Jesus faced numerous temptations from Lucifer, each designed to test his faith and resolve. But Jesus resisted each temptation, setting the ultimate example of how to overcome the allure of darkness. As long as there is darkness in the world, Lucifer and his demons will continue to tempt and deceive. How did you overcome those temptations? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below. We would love to hear your stories. However, we must remain vigilant and steadfast in our commitment to righteousness. Let us draw strength from the stories of those who have resisted evil and triumphed over adversity. Let us be inspired by the example of Jesus Christ, who overcame the greatest temptation of all and emerged victorious. Third, we must remain united. We cannot afford to be divided or to become isolated. We must always seek the support and guidance of our fellow believers, for they are the ones who will help us to resist the temptations of evil. But Lucifer was persistent, and he continued to tempt and manipulate them until their resolve began to waver. When we succumb to Lucifer's temptations, we open ourselves up to the darkness that lies within. The battle between good and evil raged on earth, and humanity's fate hung in the balance. Some succumbed to the temptations of the enemy, embracing darkness and forsaking the light. Others, however, stood firm, resisting the forces of evil and holding on to their faith. We allow evil to take root in our hearts and minds, corrupting us and twisting us to its will. We become vessels of darkness, spreading evil and despair wherever we go. He offered them deals, promising them power and glory if they would only join him in his rebellion. Some succumbed to these temptations, joining Lucifer in his quest to overthrow the divine order. But others held firm, remaining loyal to the Almighty despite the cost. A story that has shaped the course of human history and yet remains shrouded in mystery. He tempted humans with promises of power, pleasure, and knowledge, all in an effort to turn them away from the path of righteousness. He sent nightmares to plague the innocent, causing them to turn away from God in their darkest moments. He tempted those with power, offering them worldly riches in exchange for their souls. And he even corrupted the righteous, tempting them with forbidden knowledge and turning their hearts toward sin. He whispered false prophecies, sowing seeds of doubt and confusion among the faithful. He even disguised himself as a religious figure, leading many astray with his false teachings. Are you curious enough to find out the truth? If so, let's begin. He longed for more, something beyond the confines of his angelic existence. And so he began to plan. He sought to overthrow the divine order and claim the throne of the Almighty for himself. He gathered followers, whispering sweet promises of power and glory, and together they hatched a plot to dethrone the Almighty. This story goes way back before time began, when the universe was nothing but a dark, cold void, devoid of light, devoid of hope. However, within Lucifer's heart, the dark secret was brewing, a secret that would shatter the very foundations of existence. So, as he was cast out of heaven, he vowed revenge. He promised to return and reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. As he fell from grace, he took a third of the angels with him, each bearing their own burdens of pride and resentment. Together, they plunged into the darkness, leaving behind the light of heaven. As these thoughts continued to plague him, Lucifer's heart grew heavy with discontent. On the day of the rebellion, Lucifer and his followers descended upon the heavenly court like a tempest. They fought fiercely, but they were no match for the divine power of the Almighty. Despite their valiant efforts, Lucifer and his followers were defeated and banished from the realm of the righteous. But Lucifer was not one to accept defeat easily. He refused to surrender to his fate. So where did they go? Their destination was Earth, a planet teeming with life and potential, a planet that had not yet experienced the touch of darkness. But before Lucifer could make his move, he had to face one final challenge, the challenge that would test his strength and cunning to the very limits. Using his knowledge of celestial lore, Lucifer transformed himself into a being of pure light, an angel of the Lord. But how did he carry out his plan? On earth, Lucifer employed a variety of tactics to carry out his evil schemes. One of his most effective methods was seduction. But Lucifer's influence did not stop at seduction. He also used fear and manipulation to control those around him. Despite Lucifer's best efforts, there were some who resisted his influence. So, how can we protect ourselves from Lucifer's temptations? But what happens if we succumb to Lucifer's temptations? As the story of Lucifer unfolded, humanity found itself caught in the crossfire. Among those who resisted was Job, a man renowned for his unwavering faith and righteousness. Another notable figure who confronted Lucifer was Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Now let's talk about the aftermath of Lucifer's rebellion. However, amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged. Now let's discuss the lessons we can learn from the story of Lucifer. The battle between good and evil continues to unfold in the world today. And here's a question for you. Have you ever felt tempted by the allure of power, pleasure, or knowledge? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends and family.